great being here with us this Thursday afternoon, both in here at JWD Art Space and also online. And today we're gonna have a talk about the Vietnamese migration history that related to this exhibition, Where Are We Landing? And today we are having the artist Thuy-Han Nguyen-Chi. She's based in Berlin, and we also have the writer Artyasit Srisuwan. He is also a columnist for 101 World, an online magazine. And the talk today, we're gonna have two sessions. The first one, we're gonna talk about the video work into the ballad belly, and also the second part will be led by Artyasit about the Thai Southern Thai literature about the second wave of Vietnamese migration history. Yeah. So start with the talk about the video, and I do believe that you have answered this question for so many times, but then would you mind share with us a little bit about the beginning of the film and the collaboration with your mom, how it began? What is the moment of okay, we're gonna do this together?
I guess it's always hard to define where the exact beginning is, because there's so many conditions that are necessary to manifest something, a work, a collaboration, etc. But yeah, maybe I can talk about one fragment of it. But so during the first lockdown, I think it was 2020. I spent a couple of months at home, and one time during lunch, I learned that she wanted to become a director. And it was very shocking to me. She was saying, if I had the conditions, I would have loved to become a film director. And that was during a time when I just returned from Chicago, where I studied film. It was just a natural thought, just to do something together with her. And that's how this piece became to be, and I was commissioned by the Berlin Biennale to do a work of art for that exhibition. And so we used that opportunity to do something together. And it's been a very challenging but also transformative experience for both of us. And I think it opened up a new dimension to our relationship as mother and daughter, but also as collaborators. And we want to work together again in the future. Yeah.
So, but for the project, where was the theme of migration come from? At the time, why is not other topic, but then the topic of migration?
Where the topic came from? I guess migration is one part of, one important part of the work, but it's not the only part. I guess my family's history, or my mom's history in particular, is connected to escape and migration. And that's part of our reality, our historical reality. But I prefer not to frame the work just within that term or concept of migration, because it's so much more than that, and it starts with a relationship between a mother and a daughter, a woman and another woman, and one human being and another. And I think that's the foundation of this piece. But also, as you see, it's the gravitational center of this work is, I guess, we're exploring our relationship between each other, but also between our relationship to the world and our relationship to life and death. Because this moment of jumping, it's like an interzone between life and death. And I guess I try to connect to that experience of her, although it's impossible for me. I've never been a refugee. I've never been in such a life-threatening situation, like when she was in Songkhla and her boat being taken over by pirates. So I will never understand that. That's what I knew from the very beginning. But still, there's this desire in me to deal with this impossibility to understand her. So I think that film was brought out of that desire, and that's why I was not only behind the camera, but also in front of the camera with her, especially performing and reenacting this jump with her. So yeah, my creation is part of it, but I think it has so many different layers and dimensions, and I try to avoid to frame it just through that lens.
So I think the performance, so like perform it in the video is very interesting, but we will go to that later. I wonder, when was the first time that you hear your mom experience escaping from South Vietnam?
I think these are the stories of escape, both my mother and my aunts, but more my mother because we have a closer relationship. It's something I've been growing up with, and I've heard it again and again, always variations of it. So it was just part of my growing up, and I really appreciated that she is so open towards me to talk about these different experiences, and it's also part of my history. I wouldn't be sitting here, or this film wouldn't exist if all that wouldn't have happened, and it conditions my thinking, my relationship to myself, but also to the world.
Speaking of like performance, so in her film, tell us of like, the multiple layer of performance, of performing in the film, and when and where the idea of performance came to your mind, when it came during the editing or since you writing the script?
So the film was partially scripted. It was a very open script, so when we shot the film, we really tried to respond to the conditions and life unfolding in that moment, and also give my mother the space to just speak or move in the way she wanted to in the club with me. And yeah, in the script it was clear that we would perform certain things together, like especially the jump. And I guess performance or performing this jump was, I guess, an experiment, an attempt to connect to her, to revisit something in the past which is still very alive in the present. When we edited that sequence in the film where you see the woman jumping down, going up again, it was the editor interwove my mother's body with my body, so it was not really clear. I think oftentimes when people watch it, they ask who's jumping. So it was like a hybrid between her and my body, but we edited it in such a way that it's a continuous movement, like down and up. And I guess that's what I was searching for, to really blur these boundaries between director, performer, mother and daughter, one human being and another, one experience and another. Try to create this kind of hybrid to think through the past, the present, but also the future. So in this moment of jumping, everything collapses. All the times, all the identities, all the scales, all the different experiences. And it's an experiment, and it's open. I don't have it's an experiment, and
So I don't think it is like spoiling the work, but then your mom mentioned in the film that in the dangerous situation you have to be a good actor. Yeah, that line came. I mean, you guys have been talking about this thing before, or it came during the.
It came in a. It's indeed, I think, my favorite line in the whole film. It was so beautiful, like how she told the whole story. Maybe to give the audience context, a bit of context. So my mom, when the day before she stepped on the boat to escape Vietnam, she had to like go undercover with two other friends, and they were traveling to a coastal town, to have their last meal and prepare for the journey on the next day. And when they went to an outdoor restaurant or something, or place to eat, and they encountered these officials, and if they would have been discovered, as people who want to escape, then they would get in trouble. So she says that she had, like, her friends were really scared, but she felt very calm, and she had those acting experiences because she was directing theater plays during her student years, so she had that confidence of directing and acting. And in this moment, she just pretended or acted, and pretended to be someone who's selling eggs. So I thought it was so beautiful. Like, so she was creating this theatric moment in life within the film, and she's talking about that, like, to take up, so she's creating this performance in a life-threatening situation in order with a hope to liberate herself and her friends from this situation. And I thought it was really interesting, I guess, to use performance as a way to alter reality or life. And I guess within this film, my mother and I used performance also to alter a reality, our common reality, our individual reality, but also life, because it had an effect on our relationship. So yes, it's interesting, to think through performances that are acting in art, in film, in life, in safe situations, and also in life-threatening situations.
Because I think that is my favorite line in the film as well. As really beautiful, smart, and touching as well. Because it just made me realize that okay, we are performing every day, and then in the film there's the looping situation. So there's a lot of switching between fiction and myth and personal memory and also reality. And I think I like it a lot when, at least for me, the only one that mostly similar to reality the most is this film set in the video. And then I wanted the film set, I mean the ocean scene. Where is the location of the film? Is it in Vietnam?
Unfortunately not. I wanted to shoot in Vietnam, and it was, I think, 2022. So we still had travel restrictions. So we shot in Malta. And it's because the ocean during that time, we shot in March, had the right temperature. It was not too cold, so we chose to shoot in Malta, which I guess is also an important location right now, politically thinking. Yeah.
Because just to give a context, when her mom was escaping from South Vietnam after the fall of Saigon in the 70s, the boat we know as the second wave of Vietnamese boat people, and then they landed in Songkhla for a while before they went to Europe, because there was a big refugee camp run by the UN at that time. And then in the film, she talked about her experience facing the Thai pirate, which is actually I and Han been talking about the significance of Songkhla, Thailand in the Vietnamese migration history, and how we can elaborate their significance, and that's why this talk is happening. And then I found the article of Kun Ong Artyasit that he wrote about the short Thai novel from the southern Thailand about the perception of Thai people towards to Vietnamese people at that time. And I think before we go to Q&A about your work, I want to give a floor to Kun Artyasit to talk about what was happening in the south of Thailand during that time.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me to participate in this interesting activity. Let me introduce myself. My name is Artyasit. I'm a young writer and I come from Surat Thani, the largest province in southern of Thailand. I would like to share with you today in the Vietnamese Exile and Thai Southern Literary Echoes. Let me begin with introducing everyone to know one writer from Nakhon Si Thammarat in southern of Thailand too. And before I start, does anyone know Chamlong Fungcholjitr? Now, Chamlong is an old writer, but if we look back more than 40 years ago, he was a famous young writer and he was outstanding at short stories. His nickname was in Thai long เรื่องสั้น but in English long short story. I think it is a word play. Some long short story show the social problems and solution, including the series of traffic jam in Bangkok, accident caused by traffic, and family problem, abandon of children, poverty, or education problem, dealing with a student and teacher, and criminal problem, including sexual harassment and bodily harm, and political problem with corruption in his short story. And Chamlong mostly mentioned the problem and left the topic of reader to consider the way out. On story show idea of the writer toward the changing society from the old style to the modern one. I would like to tell you more why I am interested in Chamlong short story. When I was 14 years old, I attended a writing workshop in my school. Two writers who trained students were Kham Sing Sinot, or his pen name Lao Kham Hom, and Chamlong Fungcholjitr. On that day, Chamlong told a story of a boy who liked to wave to passengers on the train, but none of the passengers waved back and the boy was sad. The boy's father intended to travel into the city and to take the train that passed in front of his house and waved to his son. But that night, while the boy father was staying in the dark room at a hotel in the city, another man who seemed to have a walking stick asked the boy father what he was doing there. When the boy father told him, another man said that he had never lied shy, and I feel that it was a lie to son. In the next morning, the boy father woke up late. When he took the train past his house, he did not see his son waving. So he hurried back home and asked the boy why he did not wave on the train anymore. The boy replied that an old man had already waved at him by raising his walking stick too. Chamlong asked everyone in workshop room what was the main idea of this short story. The author student answered, lie. And I answered, the father love. Chamlong spoke, that's correct, that's right. That was my first time understanding a short story. And it was different from essay or from many writing. Chamlong was the first person who introduced me about short story. Since then, I have been following and reading Chamlong short story. Next. On Sunday night, July 22, 2023, I listened the Gold Radio on YouTube. There was a popular storyteller, P. Bao Tun, you can see him, P. Bao Tun, or the God Idol of Pak Panang. He told ghost story during his time as a monk at one rural temple in Nakhon Si Thammarat in Pak Panang, the district in Nakhon Si Thammarat. P. Bao Tun said that he met an old monk named Luang Po Chaw, name of Luang Po Chaw, and who was afraid of female goat. When he asked an old man, he heard the shocking story. Luang Po Chaw, or the old man, was born into poor family. So he went to work on fishing boat in the middle of the Gulf of Thailand. And one day, the fishing boat encountered a Vietnamese exile boat that was fleeing from the civil war in Vietnam, from Saigon. The captain of the boat saw that there was treasure and the gold on the Vietnamese exile boat. So he ordered his crew to kill all person on the boat and burn the boat. When they got the gold treasure, he didn't dare to bring it to Thai shore, but he afraid the police, and they took it to sell in Indonesia. I think the secret Iceland in Indonesia area. They also made the silent hop. by cutting open the stomach and bring the organ in stomach throwing in the sea. In one robbery, Luang Por Chor and Oman was fascinated by the beauty of Vietnamese girl in the boat, on the boat, and so he did not kill her. He took her for his wife on the boat. And however, the girl don't like him. And one day she poisoned in the food. Poison acetic in their pirate food. Arsenic สารหนูใช่ไหม arsenic and the crew said to the captain she must die, but the captain love her and he think he think he abandoned her into the sea, and she jumped to the sea. She jumped, and before she jumped, she said something in Vietnamese language. In this case, Luang Por Chor stop being a pirate because he said in this case, and he and when he returned to the good man, he had a daughter, and he believed that the Vietnamese girl on the boat reincarnated to daughter, and he loved her so much, but she was murdered in the forest, and Luang Por Chor is very so sad. In the end, Luang Por Chor became to monk, and he met Pi Bao Tu, and he told a story about when he was pirate in Ardwichai. This ghost story of Pi Bao Tu made me think of story of Chamlong Fungcholjitr. I see this short story. Chamlong wrote short story about Vietnamese exile boat, 3 short story. Name of short story เรือหยวน in Thai language. the Ruyuan in Thailand. This short story was first published in May 1979, and Chamlong told about the Vietnamese girl on the boat and the robbery and the golden in her stomach, and in this in December 1979, Chamlong wrote Ruyuan ระลอก 2 Vietnamese Exile volume 2, and he wrote about the pirate who met the Vietnamese not pirate. In this short story, Chamlong wrote about the Thai southern Thai people at Papanang. They met the Vietnamese pirate on in the Thai Sea. Yes. And I think Chamlong story show the perception of Thai people about Vietnamese what the communists, and Thai also don't like communists, and they think communist is not good in Thai, and this case I think it made to Thai people to Thai people this case it made to the
the 6th October
6th October,
at
yes,
Thammarat
6th October.
University.
Okay.
So to keep the context, so this happened after the fall of Saigon, and then there was the perception of like, if you kill the communists, it's the right thing, it's not the wrong thing. And then at the time there was the propaganda from the Thai government that all Vietnamese is communists. So in the South Thailand, that's why many people from the South at the time, or like the Thai pirate at the time, think that it's okay to rob the Vietnamese boat and it's fine. It's fine to kill Vietnamese people because they are communists. Yeah, and this situation continue to Bangkok as well, and it's the cause of the 6th October massacre in the Thammarat University. Speaking of the monk story, so the monk in the past he was a pirate, and then he fell in love with Vietnamese girl but then she died, and then after she died he became a monk after that, right? Okay, interesting. And then Pi Bao Tu, the ghost storyteller, met the monk, and then the monk told this story to you, right? Okay, I see. So back to the video work, the collaboration with your mom. Was there any conversation between you and your mom about her experience after she arrived at Songkhla? Like did she met like Thai person, or after she landed at Songkhla at the time?
Yes, she told me a little about that, and what I remember is that it was a very they really lived in isolation. I think there was no real interaction and I think sometimes they were allowed to leave a little bit, but it was very controlled. So they had so my mom was in Songkhla for 6 months, and I guess they had their own community life there. My mom was someone who every evening would read short stories, actually, books to novels to the whole community through some kind of loudspeaker system. That's what she keeps telling me. And they had to sleep in like huts. At the beginning, actually, she was sleeping on a hammock at the beach. And but later on, she was transferred to a room, but it was like a community room and sleeping. It was very difficult, especially as a woman, a young woman being there and dealing with also potential sexual harassment. Yeah, so they're very their own community and didn't really had any contact to the outer world. Yeah, and I traveled to Songkhla in February 2024, and yeah, I met some local people, and through a friend who helped me travel there and introduced me to local people. And a lot of people don't know about the existence of refugees during the 70s. They heard about it, some heard about it, but it was like really a division, or like there was not much knowledge about it, no interaction. So that was interesting and sad to learn about that.
Yes, because that beach, the beach where Vietnamese people landed, and also the beach where the camp located. Right now, it's just like it's not touristic beach.
It's empty.
It's empty.
And I think close to that is like a fishing
Yeah.
industry, factory, buildings.
Yeah, and it was the same beach where the Japanese soldier landed during the World War II as well. And then I think it's really interesting because I have talked with Kun Om before that the act of jumping actually happened not only with your mom but also other girls, Vietnamese girls on the boat as well. And then in Chamlong Fungcholjitr words, you mentioned that there's one novel that talk about, it's not talk about Thai pirate, but then talk about Vietnamese pirate. And my question is, do you think there was actually Vietnamese pirate, or it's just a fictionalized thing?
I think in the the first Rayuan story, Chamlong talk about the Vietnamese in the Vietnamese on the boat who เรื่องตื่นเต้นว่าคือเล่มแรกพูดแบบว่าคนเวียดนามเป็นเหยื่อครับแต่ว่าพอเล่มอีกเรื่องเรื่องที่สองเรื่องที่สองเนี่ยหมายถึงว่าคนเวียดนามเนี่ยกลายมาไอ้ชาวทะเลเนี่ยไปเจอคนเวียดนามที่เป็นโจรสลัดแทนแล้ว
Okay, so just doing translation. So the first, like I would say, the first series of the Vietnamese book short novel, they mentioned about the Thai pirate that harassed Vietnamese people. So Vietnamese people was like victim, but then at the second part, they talk about like Thai as a victim, and there's like Vietnamese pirate. But then the thing is, we don't know if there was a Vietnamese pirate or not. Or that could be a metaphor, the Vietnamese pirate could be a metaphor to communists. I don't know, what do you think?
I think in Thai perception, Vietnamese on Vietnamese were the communists, but in the true data, Vietnamese on the boat were not communist. Yeah. But in Thai, in the perception of Thai people in 1970, all Vietnamese were communist.
I don't know how far I can go here. I will be careful. But it's so interesting and fascinating. Like, why? Was because after, the people who fled Vietnam after 75 are the people who fled communism. So I wonder how anti-public perception, like how was this perception developed that all Vietnamese were communists, and that was used to dehumanize, kill people. I wonder how that shift happened from the reality of the refugees and here how they were perceived in Thailand.
So basically, at the time, Thailand had a good relationship with the US to eliminate communism that came from many ways, basically from China and from Vietnam, some from Laos as well. And then there's a lot of like the propaganda say that communism is a bad thing, and there's a lot of communists from China, from Vietnam. We have to like be aware of Vietnamese people, and the propaganda is not just like from news, but it came together with like it's the outdoor cinema, the big one, and supported by the US and the Thai government, and they went to the rural area, like everywhere in Thailand, in the south, and especially in Isan, the northeastern of Thailand. And that's why Thai, put the perception of Thai people in general is that this is like kind of like the generalization of Vietnamese people. And there was a monk spread the word that it's not wrong to kill communists. And this is the main thing. And then what was happening in the south of Thailand, as you can see, this is also the one of like the consequence of that event. Yeah. So I'm from the northern of Thailand, Isan region, and we have been talking a lot about like the Cold War, the Vietnam War, and also the American War, whatever you will call it. But then the Vietnamese refugee is pretty far from my like the old perception. Even there's a lot of Vietnamese people in like Udon Thani in Isan area, but then they come from the first wave of migration. It's not from the Cold War period, because most of Vietnamese people after the fall of Saigon, they will went to like the south of Thailand, and then they went to Europe. Yeah, so this is also new for me as well to know to get to know like the propaganda in the south of Thailand, because it's a bit far away from my perception. Yeah. But I don't know if there is any kind of like the perception of Vietnamese people towards to Thai people at the time or not. Yeah. Besides from like pirate and everything.
I think that like one of the factor about like the perception of the Vietnamese and other country that so-called communist country in that sense is quite simple in a way that the Cold War is the war of binary. In a way, there is no country per se, because like at the same time that Thailand and the US like go against the Vietnamese, right, as the communist part of the Vietnamese. They also go against the Communist Party of Thailand as well, which is like a part of the communists in general. So there is no country or boundary in that sense, but it's the boundary of the ideology, I would say. So it's not about the country per se, but about the idea. And as well, when you think about the discourse of Cold War, we talk about the idea of Iron Curtain, right? And we also talk about the idea of Bamboo Curtain, which is kind of separation in a way, that they separate things to be binary, to be West and to be East, in German, in Berlin. And in that sense, it's kind of sum up like the idea of how the Cold War operates. In that way also, which if you think about it from this, like from the present perspective, it would be quite difficult to understand that kind of simplistic worldview as well, because we tend to think about things more in a complex sense, right? But I would say that like there is some extent that when we think about Cold War, we have to think about how the ideology operates and how it operates quite in the most simplest way possible as well.
Thank you so much for that. A question just came. I don't know if I can ask you a question. Because I don't know much about Thai history. I'm very curious. So there was this anti-communist propaganda. Were there any communist, anti-colonial, anti-imperialist movements in Thailand during that time that were in alliance with communist, anti-imperialist movements in Vietnam? And how were these movements or parties treated in Thailand?
You mean like the communist movement in Thailand? The anti.
No, the communists. Because you were talking about the anti-communist U.S. alliance, but I wonder like whether pro-communist, anti-colonial, anti-imperial movements here too that were in alignment with the communists in Vietnam who wanted to liberate Vietnam from French colonization and American occupation.
I think that like communism is like one of the tools when we think about how to decolonize, right? So in other point, we also think about nationalism as like an anti-colonization movement. But I think that like back in that day, if I get it right, I think communism is quite a phenomenon. It's a new thing back then, and there's not much we can think of apart from democracy and like liberal world and maybe even like loyalist family as well as like a key player in the political regime. And I would say that like to that point, the so-called intellectual was drawn into communist thinking or communist discourse. Because of that, it's kind of offer them the option to think about the world in a different shape. Because they already experienced everything, They know about like the military regime in Thailand, which is quite dominant, the Thai politics there. And they also like experience some kind of not really stable, but like a democracy of British regime as well, which was like quite clean out or even like somehow was blamed to be quite corrupt. There's a lot of corruption going on in that regime as well, which it's kind of debatable if it's like really a corruption, really like a corrupt regime, or if it's like a propaganda also to go against them. And also like we also experienced like the incident of loyalist family as well, that the king was by accident or. I'm not sure about that, but okay. I think the thing is that communist worldview kind of introduced the so-called intellectual class, I would say, a new way to think about politics. And as an intellectual, there's always like a spirit of kind of liberating spirit. The spirit of like a young people who want to share the world, who want to share the regime. And they dream, they are the dreamer back then. And they try everything like to promote their belief, I would say. It's another shape of ideology, but I don't think that they kind of buy into the idea of communism like wholeheartedly. Some may buy into that idea, but I don't think like there's so many different shapes in the leftist, so-called leftist. And as you know that like as the leftists, when they want to do something, they debate a lot as well. there's a lot of like clash in ideology, thinking, discord, and like the movement is not that united, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I think like the pro that is the pro communist, right? But the anti-communist, I would say that there's also like the belief that now we already shift from the kingdom that has like a royal family as like a monarch who rule our country. And we change it into like a kind of democracy, which is like debatable as well. And there's like a kind of conservative belief that the democracy sucks, like to put it quite simply. In that sense, they kind of promote back, okay, whether we should return to the loyalist family, that is also like another option. That is how things became, and also like I think it's partially it's because of the US kind of promotes royal family as a key figure to fight against communist regime as well.
Can I continue? Also ask you if you have some idea or mention things. I do think there's a communist network in Thailand. It's quite separate. It's like a hardcore ideology and soft core about this. Vietnamese perhaps is can be wrong. I think it's quite soft because it's compared to in Cambodia. I think that is the Thai people are afraid that situation a lot because what we heard from the newspaper, they kill this parent, they kill the monk, they demonstration all of the social structure. So of course, it's the monarchy will afraid what will erase from that. So this merge together with this the propaganda from US, and this can be more power to against this communist idea. But I quite feel strange because I've been to Nakhon Si Thammarat and Ardwichai. Not sure it's called Stan or something like that. Of course, this is quite brutal. They killed the priest of French peace because they're afraid it's going to be a communist thing, and they're asking this to change this religion to not follow the Christian, then to be a Buddhist or something like that. They killed them all. But another thing else is Ho Chi Minh swim. That is a story that you already heard about that. But it's not a question. I quite wonder how, starving during all the time in this immigration camp between in Isan and in the southern. It's because I feel like if you comparison two sides, in Isan should be quite more flexible because what I heard they still survive. Not east. I heard Thai people not able to sell the food to Vietnamese immigration, but allow to grow up the plant, and that we have a kind of
What plant?
we call mangel, so it's Mexican turnip. Yeah,
So they don't allow to
sell the food.
import. It's not allowed to import or sell Vietnamese food there.
No, Thai food to immigration people,
Okay.
but allowed to grow up the plant on themselves, and they bring that turnip to growing up in Thai soil. That's very interesting for me.
Wow.
And lately, after that, I asked Vietnamese how you can cook recipe from that turnip. Actually, they have a lot recipe, but in Thai we know only one recipe. That is the most interesting this.
So that's in the northeast of Thailand. Okay. I would love to learn more about that dish.
No, I
Yeah, because actually there are a lot of like the support for the agriculture sector from the government, and the like later the fall of Saigon, and I would say at the late era of the Cold War in Thailand in the 1980s. There were a lot of like communists still in the forest, and then the government tried to manage the forest and announce it into like a national park. And the reason is like try to bring the communists back to the city, and the government gave the land to the communists and then support them about the agricultural knowledge. And sometimes they sent the communists or like the labor to work to work in Israel, because in Israel there's a lot of like agricultural industry, and that's also another consequence of the Cold War in Thailand is really complex. Yeah, but I would say the situation of the migration, Vietnamese migration in Eastern, in northeastern of Thailand and in the south Thailand is pretty different. It's more flexible in the north of Thailand, and but like in the south Thailand it's more like environment, I think.
Is there any documentation or archival footage about the Vietnamese refugees in the northeast of Thailand or the south? Is there anything in the Thai film archive or any? Now I'm doing the Q&A with you.
No.
Yeah, we changed sides.
So if you have chance to go, we have it's very ironic. We have two sides. The Ho Chi Minh House. One is claimed as original, so it's wooden with this small area and a lot of food plant. This is growing up just like as it's a Vietnamese style. And then because it's turned to be a touristic place, so there's a Thai authority touristic thing. Make another site. It's called Ho Chi Minh House, bigger with this a lot of concrete and what's called Feng Shui, rocky style with this paradise thing, and have a big sign. This is real Ho Chi Minh House. So if you have chance, please go there.
Actually, we have a lot of like traces of migration history, like Vietnamese migration history in the northeastern as well, because there are a lot in, I think maybe in Nakhon Phanom, there are two Ho Chi Minh House. One claim that this is original, yeah, and then there's a lot of like Vietnamese food as well, but then is the first wave and the second wave is already blend already right now, yeah.
Don't forget pho.
Yeah, pho. It's pronounced as pho, right?
No, it's called
Yeah, we have like Vietnamese Thai style of pho. Yeah. We call Guay Chap Yun. It's like,
And you can eat it here in Hanoi?
yeah, yes. I'll give you a location. Yeah, you should try. Anyone has more questions?
This soft relationship with this Vietnamese. It's not really hardcore.
I have like a question about the act of jumping, because like you talk about a lot of like the act of jumping as like a transitional period, right, between life and death, between like settle and unsettled, whatever you can call it, whatever, like kind of between the binary thing. But I mean like the act of jumping is quite a good metaphor for the Cold War as well. And I would say that like, if you think that the Cold War will still continue is not end. You know, when the Soviet Union broke, we are still in that effect of Cold War anyway, right? And you know that like the world politics is quite dominated by that Cold War discourse. What do you think about that kind of like perpetually transitioning period? Like, as you say, that is the act of jumping. Where would we, like, you know, as like a people, will land in the future, or like kind of, are there any possible way that this kind of effect can be put to an end without, you know, dealing with like geopolitical emotion, whatever? It's kind of like a big
Well, it's
question.
a huge question.
Yes,
And
but I mean, like,
if I could respond to that, I should get a big prize. I think it's impossible for me to respond to that. I guess the last sentence in the film is, she says, I committed suicide, but actually I chose life. I guess I was like on this very personal, existential level. It's like, it's not a binary. It's like this moment where I think everything is entangled, life and death. And I intentionally left it open towards the end of the film where it's going. Talking about history, geopolitics, and I can't answer your question. It's huge. But maybe I think I have to speak about it in a rather abstract way. But I grew up. I was born and grew up in Germany. I grew up between Vietnamese history and German history. Of course, I learned about other histories as well, but my focus was that because I grew up with these histories because of my parents, but also where I was born and grew up and educated. And of course, my father, he came to Germany as an 18-year-old to study engineering in Munich. So he was part of the 68 student movements. It's interesting to look at the present moment, 2024, 2025, and the protests in the US and around the world. Columbia University, 68, and now. And my father, and I made a work in dialogue with him about this, was also, he's a Marxist still. He really believed in communism as a way to liberate Vietnam from imperialist forces. And he was in between these histories, negotiating the histories, the situation in Germany, also with the East and West, and Vietnam, North and South. And I guess for me now, the first generation to be born and raised and educated in Germany and looking at what's happening now in German politics and world politics, I see definitely it's things are coming back and haunting us, things that we have repressed, have not dealt with, have not taken responsibility for. It comes back and haunts us, and it creates other. It creates a lot of suffering, a lot of crimes, a lot of. The cycle comes back, and I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I don't have any answer, but it's really tragic to witness this moment right now, and to see also how all these different histories haunt each other, and how do we. I guess my question, I don't have any answer, but my question would be how can I, as a human being, with my histories, understand myself through another person's history without repressing their history, not without negating them as a human being with their memories and histories, their past, present, and future, and that it's not a zero-sum game. If you tell me about your history, and maybe it's the opposite of my history, we can acknowledge that, and we can live with this paradoxes. Because reality, history is so, and we as human beings are so complex. I think I myself am full of paradoxes. And how can we let these histories coexist and see each other and acknowledge each other? And not erase each other, you know? Why does it need to be a zero-sum game? Why, if I acknowledge your suffering, I'm also acknowledging my suffering. If I acknowledge your history, I'm also acknowledging my history. It's not separate. And now it's like, when we acknowledge this, it means we negate this. Or if we acknowledge this, it's negating this. So I think this binary, dualistic thinking, and this zero-sum game is really destructive. And I guess it creates this cycle of suffering and war and death, and I'm just full of questions, and I can't answer to your question. Yeah. But this is something I think about.
Sorry, just stage another thing else between you and you. Because you say it's not binary, and this is remind me to something else between that war, feminine, can I say masculine, because this is the creator of war. Man, something else about your story is remind me to when I visit Jeju, it's a mythology of Jeju. Let's say woman found dead on the beach, and she transformed to the goddess in the shape of snake and revenge the people in the village. You know, this is why this female revenge as a goddess. That story came around the world is because this is the power of man control the story, and underneath, underwater, under structure of the man is going to be a female things. But when you want to stage that story, you have to bring that another side of that. Found this something is cannot be not right in the book or something like that. And it's very interesting. This only man writing and talk about the woman revenge. Yeah.
Thanks for Chai. Before we go to this topic, I would like to go back to jumping again a little bit. But maybe this is my interpretation. But I think jumping for me is like, I think for me it's a tool to acknowledge a second, for you is the second-hand memory. First hand is your mom, and then you work with the second-hand memory, and we as an audience, we are watching, like we perceiving the third-hand memory, and then by jumping is like the way to revisit memory again and again. And my question is that how did you and your mother feel when watching the footage? But it's already mentioned in the film. But then I wonder if like how can you deal with the trauma and memory of your mom when you talk about it, or when you revisit that memory and then the footage?
Well, I cannot speak for her. I guess you see some of the thoughts in the film. I can only speak for myself. the work of Joshua Oppenheimer. He made these two films about the anti-communist genocide in Indonesia in '65.
There's the act of killing.
The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence. And he, in an interview, he used a really interesting term, cinematic scar tissues. So when someone experiences a trauma, I guess the psychologist tries to revisit that experience to build like psychological scar tissue. And through filmmaking, somebody revisits a certain traumatic experience in the past, and so that it builds cinematic scar tissue. And I think it's a very delicate thing. Like it's a very, I guess that there needs to be a lot of trust, mutual understanding, and also there needs to be safe conditions. And I guess between my mother and me, there is this intimate mother-daughter relationship, there's this friendship, there's this trust, and there's this openness on both sides to go there. And we went there already through our dialogues as I grew up, and now being translated or embodied through the process of filmmaking. I mean, it's, I don't know if I can put it into words, but for me it was just jumping with her. It was a very moving experience, like something, I don't know, it created something between us that I can't quite put into words. Also looking at it again, like projected onto a screen, and how our bodies are interwoven through the act of editing. I don't know, it's a very transformative experience for me to have done that with her and look at what we've done together and then experience that film as an installation in a museum or in a cinema in a festival context. So the film has been traveling around the world for 3 years now and translated into multiple languages. And every time I tell her, she's happy. Oh, we're there, we're in Taiwan, we're in LA, we're in Berlin, we're in Canada. So it's been such an amazing response. Like I've received like messages or emails from people from all walks of life and how it moved them. So the jump, it's not only, it began as an individual thing, but between me and her, but it became a collective thing also. And it opened up so much for me to have like conversations with other people. And with you today, I mean, it's so amazing that I ended up here with you in a short story and your research and your questions and answers. And it creates this discourse, and I think, so the jump is happening now also. And for my mother in particular, we had the film premiered at the Berlin Biennial in 2022, and after the opening, I organized a party for my mother, but also with the whole production team and my friends, and I gave a speech to thank her and the whole team. And when I finished my speech, she came and said, "I want to say something too." And she said it in Vietnamese, and I translated into English for everyone. And there was one sentence that was incredibly moving. And she said, she thought that these experiences, or this particular event and experience in Songkhla, was something that no longer exists. It was like so suppressed. But through the act of filmmaking, to this collaborative, relational act of filmmaking, you have given me a new life. So I was very surprised and moved by that sentence, like that she felt she was given like a new life through the film. And I guess, this new life maybe was it's open up to interpretation what she means by that, but like through this act of jumping together and filming together and going through this very difficult place together, something new was created. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Like the intimacy between you and your mom is really impressive to me because I and my mom, after 5 minutes we talk, we start an argument. It's like mom-daughter things. And talking about Pedro question, I mean the observation about the men writer in Thailand, but I do think that the story created by women is in kind of local myth rather than modern kind of like narratives structure. Yeah, but then I don't know much about the local myth in the South Thailand, but there's a lot of like the women, like the story about women in the northeastern of Thailand, and that's all about the goats. So I think it's okay. It's 4:30. So if anyone doesn't have anything, I think we will close the talk. And thank you so much for being here with us 2 hours for today. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have another talk in the closing week, so we will announce the detail very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you.